Pattaya City, dubbed by many as the Sin City of Thailand. In the early morning hours of February 24, 2007, Russian tourists Tatiana and Liubov exit a club near their hotel. They decide to stay up and watch the sunrise together at the nearby Yomthing beach. As they dream and plan for tomorrow's adventures, danger lurks in the shadows. Is this a robbery gone wrong? Or something more sinister? Pattaya, Thailand. A 2-hour drive from Bangkok. What was once known as a quiet fishing village has in recent decades seen a boom in tourism, boasting a number of high-end resort hotels, high-rise condos, and shopping malls. There are a number of historic sites and holy places that pay homage to Thailand's rich traditions, such as the Sanctuary of Truth, a wooden temple-castle hybrid adorned with carvings from Thai, Hindu, Buddhist, Chinese, and Khmer influences.
If you're a nature lover, the Nong Nok Botanical Gardens is a wonderful place to visit. It covers about 2.4 square kilometers, and it's adorned with award-winning designs.
And for tourists interested in visiting the largest engraving of Buddha in the world, a visit to Khao Chi Chan reveals a former site of industry now converted to a grand spectacle, with the Buddha laser cut into the side of the limestone hill, completed in 1996 to celebrate the King of Thailand's 50th year on the throne.
There's plenty for families to explore during the day, but when the sun sets over Pattaya, the city really comes alive.
The city is well known for its thousands of cabarets, bars, and clubs that are open all night. It draws tourists in high numbers who are looking for unforgettable parties that last until the morning.
It's become very well known for its wild nightlife. The sex tourism industry seems to flourish there. It's almost like it's a little red light district.
However, not everyone visiting Pattaya does so for the sex tourism. Friends Tatiana and Liubov are here as one of the stops on a vacation package they've purchased back home.
The two women hail from a Siberian city in Russia called Kemerovo, and it's a city of about 500,000 people.
It's an industrial coal mining city, but since the collapse of the Soviet Union, things have taken a downturn and unemployment is at an all-time high.
Tatiana and Liubov are among the fortunate few. They work as telephone operators and are able to save up enough money to afford holidays.
Winters in Siberia can be brutally cold. It can drop down to below -30 Celsius at times. So the women save their money in the hopes of taking a vacation in February, the coldest month of the year.
They trade the biting cold of winter for the tropical heat of Thailand. Their first stop is the city of Ayutthaya, just north of Bangkok. The city is the heart of the old capital. It boasts many temples and sacred and religious sites, such as Wat Phra Si Samphet, the most historically important temple in old Ayutthaya. Known as the King's Temple, it's one of the most impressive sites in the ruined city. Tatiana and Liubov have arranged to rent motorcycles. They spend 3 days touring the ruins and the temples, taking in the Thai culture, before heading to Pattaya to enjoy the clubs and the nightlife. The two women arrived in Pattaya on February 16, 2007.
Pattaya City is a place that never sleeps. With the 24-hour nightclubs, there's always a party going on somewhere, any day of the week.
Here, it feels like they're a million miles from the cold of a Siberian winter. The tropical air is warm and the city is alive. They get dressed to the nines and go out clubbing in search of the best party.
The women are both very attractive and they're drawing a lot of attention, especially from Russian men. And that's not really that surprising because Pattaya is known for attracting a lot of Russian tourists.
Being such a popular vacation spot for Russians, it's not surprising that the two women meet up with a group of Russian men. It's also thrilling for a couple of women from such a small industrial town. During the days, the two friends kick back, relax, and enjoy the heat.
At night, they're on the hunt for the best nightclubs in town, the best place to have a great time. And because they're young and attractive, they have no problem charming their way in.
On February 23rd, they go to a club near their hotel. It seems wherever they go, they draw attention, but not all of it is welcome.
It can be a dangerous place for a young woman. A lot of the men are really there for the sex tourism. They're very open about that fact, and in fact, they can be downright pushy about it.
Pattaya is known as the Sin City of Thailand. There are tens of thousands of sex workers operating out of this one area.
With its countless cabarets and bars that are open all night, sex tourism has become a major draw for visitors to the region.
Thailand is a very conservative country and prostitution is illegal there. But in Pattaya, it's almost ubiquitous. It occurs very often almost as part of the underground economy. The government sort of turns a blind eye to it from time to time, making it easy for sex tourists to get away with this illegal activity.
From time to time, there's crackdowns on this industry, but usually only when outrage is provoked by headlines. Most of the time, people understand that sex tourism is unfortunately a big draw for Pattaya City, so it's allowed to continue.
A recent survey showed that approximately 8.5 million foreign tourists visited the city.
The population is officially under 200,000 people. City officials would love for the city to become rebranded as a family destination where people would enjoy their beaches, golf courses, and water sports. But with that many people coming to town, you know they ain't there to jet ski.
In the early morning hours of February 24th, Tatiana and Liubov decide they're done with the club and head in the direction of their hotel. But along the way, they make a plan to stay up and watch the sunrise. They stop off to get some drinks and cigarettes before heading to the beach near their hotel.
By all accounts, it appears that the two women went down to the water to listen to the waves, look up at the stars, enjoy a nightcap together, just having a really nice night.
Eventually, they tire and start to fade. Their conversation reduced to intermittent comments until, yawning, they both sit quietly. Relaxed in this perfect setting, both women begin to wind down. So far in the week they've spent in Pattaya, they've turned a lot of heads. But now they've caught the attention of someone lurking in the shadows, and he isn't friendly.
From this vantage point, they look like an easy mark. They appear to be asleep. They've left their valuables out in the open and really nobody around to look after them.
The man approaches quietly. And though they're very nearly out cold, instinctively Tatiana jolts awake.
She seems to have a second sense that something's wrong. Whether she caught something out of the corner of her eye or not, it's not known. But the last thing they expected was to see somebody standing behind them.
Liubov senses him too and turns to look. The women scream as the intruder pulls a gun. A cold sinking realization that their trip to paradise is about to be cut short. In the last few decades, Pattaya City has seen a boom in tourism. With its white sandy beaches, five-star resorts, and immaculate golf courses, it's easy to see why. But those aren't the only reasons.
Pattaya is dubbed by many as the Sin City of Thailand. It's a hedonistic paradise that caters to all tastes. Prostitution is illegal, but law enforcement typically looks the other way.
It's a stark contrast from the cold Siberian city that friends Tatiana and Liubov hail from. The two young women catch the attention of several men. And their dream vacation turns into a nightmare when they become targets of violence. The two women barely have time to respond. The gunman fires. He hits Tatiana through the back. She immediately goes limp. Then, as Liubov tries to stand, she is hit several times. Once in her left arm, and 3 shots in her abdomen. She sinks back into her chair while the gunman scans the beach. There's no one around, but someone will certainly have heard the shots. He quickly but calmly leaves the scene of the crime. Nearby, a hotel security guard hears the gunshots. He heads in the direction of the sound to make sure that no one is hurt.
A security guard typically does not have the same level of training as a policeman does. However, in this situation, I find it hard to fault what the security guard has done. He hears what he thinks are gunshots, and he starts moving towards that location. And he does so in a cautious manner.
As the security guard approaches the area where he heard the gunshots, he sees a man calmly walking away. He ultimately gets on a red and black motorcycle and flees the area. The security guard checks to make sure that the coast is clear, that there is no immediate threat to him. He doesn't know what involvement, if any, the person walking away that got on the motorcycle may have had. When he sees the two women, he calls out to them to see if there's any response. When he doesn't get a response, he then notices the blood.
He rushes to aid the women. He checks their vital signs, but it's too late. They're already dead. He calls the police to report a double homicide.
security guard recognizes that this is a crime scene and he stays with the bodies until the police arrive. He's very careful to ensure that he doesn't contaminate or disturb the crime scene.
News in the area travels fast that there's been a shooting. Press arrive on the scene, hoping to get an exclusive shot. Since it's 2 foreign tourists who are killed, reporters are hopeful a story like this could make international news. It's just the kind of thing authorities are hoping to contain.
As first responders, when they arrive, police check to see if there's any signs of life or any vital signs. But when the officers do this, it only confirms what the security guard has already told them. Both women are dead.
A quick survey of the crime scene reveals that there doesn't appear to be a struggle and there's no weapon anywhere in the area. Their best hope at this point is that the security guard saw something and is able to provide information.
The security guard details the events, from hearing the gunshots to seeing the man flee on the motorbike. But unfortunately, he can't provide a detailed description of the man or the license plate.
The investigators here are going to have their hands full. There are a lot of Russian tourists here. There are going to be a lot of eyes on this investigation, and there's going to be a lot of unwanted attention. They're really going to have to stay on top of it.
They're thorough in documenting the crime scene. The security guard has assured them that no one else came through and that he left everything as it was. Investigators might be inclined to believe that this was an attempted robbery gone wrong. But something about that puzzles them.
You've got a double homicide. Both people have been shot, yet none of their belongings have been taken. So what's the motive? What's the end game to this killing? It's really quite bizarre, because what does it take to reach out and grab a cell phone and run off? You're gonna run off anyways, but the perpetrator doesn't. They just leave it all. It's puzzling. It's truly puzzling.
But this tropical paradise, with its endless parties, temptations, and delights, has a much darker side too.
One of the things investigators have to consider is that this may not in fact be a random occurrence. These murders may in fact be linked to organized crime, and it's something the investigators have to look into.
There's a lot of cash changing hands in the city, and with it, a good deal of organized crime, including Russian mafia.
Organized crime is known to exist in the city. It may be prevalent in the city. But where's the link?
But if this is a hit job, who did it? And what is the connection between these 2 young women and the mafia? Police will need to wade into the seedy underbelly of the city if they hope to find the answers. In 2007, friends Tatiana and Liubov book a vacation package that spares them from the bitter cold of a Siberian winter. One of their stops is Pattaya, Thailand, a place known for its endless parties and its sex tourism. The pair attract a lot of attention from men, much of it unwelcome. And given the prevalence of sex trafficking, the presence of Russian mafia in Pattaya, and the women's country of origin, investigators speculate that their murders may be tied to organized crime. The bodies of the victims have been sent for an autopsy. In the meantime, officers try to work out some theories of what might have happened there.
One of the working theories is that this is a robbery gone wrong. Perhaps the perpetrator saw these women appearing a little vulnerable. They appeared to be asleep or perhaps intoxicated, and it would be simple to rob them of their possessions. But instead, the person responsible took out a gun and shot them for no apparent reason.
Like many areas of Thailand, poverty is also an issue in Pattaya City, especially child poverty. There's a huge disparity between the rich tourists coming in and the impoverished locals. This could lead to crime and often does. But petty crime is one thing, violent crime is quite another.
Crimes of opportunity, like robbery or thefts from tourists, are somewhat common in the area. And this is an example of how simple that would have been if their valuables are on display and are easy to be taken. The person could just walk up, grab them, and run away. But in this case, the killer shoots them and then calmly walks away before getting on a motorcycle.
The number, location, and trajectory of the gunshot wounds can tell us a bit about how the assault occurred. Tatiana was shot once in the back, while Liubov was shot through the arm and had 3 bullet wounds to her abdomen. Since valuable items were left at the scene after the shots were fired, there is some question as to whether this was a botched robbery or a professional hit.
If the hired gunman theory is true, this explains why none of their valuables were taken. It also explains why the witness said that he saw the gunman walking calmly away from the scene. Not really the behavior of a thief who panics and shoots someone.
Police canvass people in the area, looking for anyone who may have some information about the women and who the potential killer is. Investigators need to paint a better picture of who the victims are. If their theory about organized crime holds any water, then there's a good chance the 2 women were involved in either sex or drug trafficking in some way.
The detectives search the hotel room that they're staying in, and they discover Liubov's passport. In that passport is a note. However, it's in Russian, so the note will have to be translated. Perhaps that note will provide some information as to what happened here.
The police are going around looking for security footage in the area of the murder. They're hoping to find some footage of the man the witness saw walking away from the crime scene.
Meanwhile, someone has leaked a crime scene photo of the victims to the press. A Russian paper has run the grisly photo, along with the story of crime and corruption in Pattaya. A Russian diplomat describes the situation as senseless and without explanation. It shines a bad light on local police.
So far, the police have failed to come up with a suspect, and now the whole world knows about the murders.
Even though this is commonly known as seedy, the investigators are aware that tourism is a very important part of the economy, and they are aware that this negative press could have an effect on that.
The autopsies reveal what the police already suspected. Liubov is shot 3 times in the abdomen and once in the left arm. Tatiana is shot once in the back, and both victims died of these bullet wounds. The bullets removed reveal that the weapon used in these shootings was a 9mm pistol. The forensics seem to confirm the investigators' theory that this may have been a professional hit. The gunman appears to be a fairly precise shot rather than someone who panicked and sprayed bullets everywhere.
The police are pursuing the theory that perhaps the two victims were tied to organized crime. But so far, they can't find a single witness who can corroborate this theory.
But if the women are new in town, it's not likely that they'll be known to too many people yet. Police must also consider that there may be witnesses with information who are afraid or unwilling to come forward out of self-preservation. According to the women's passports, they only arrive in Thailand about 2 weeks prior to their murders. It's not a lot of time to get involved with local criminals, but that doesn't discount the possibility.
They have the note from her passport translated, and this could be the clue they've been looking for. The note reads, "Dear Mother, I love you so much. If you're reading this letter now, it means that I will not come back home." It's a mysterious letter. Could this mean that the women knew they weren't coming back? Or did they suspect that they were in danger?
If the victims were aware that they were targets for some reason, it would definitely be a question as to why they would be out in the open sitting on beach chairs in such a populated area, especially in a foreign country.
If I was in fear of my life, would I not stay at the hotel? Would you not feel safer in your room than out on a beach? You can also say, well, it's a public place, therefore, perhaps you're safer in a public place.
Investigators go through the women's phones, but find nothing out of the ordinary. No threatening texts or connections to criminal activity. In reviewing CCTV footage taken from the area, investigators confirm their suspicions. They're looking for a single gunman. And the speed with which he approaches and opens fire on the women seems deliberate. Like he knows what he's doing. Investigators once again interview the security guard who arrived first on the scene. He confirms for them that the motorbike he saw the man flee on was red and black, and he identifies the make as well.
It's a pretty common bike in Thailand, so without the license plate, it's impossible to know who this was. However, the witness says that he could identify the man's face, so a sketch artist is brought in.
Police sketches are commonly used in investigations in order to capture a witness's perception of a possible suspect or somebody who may be involved in the occurrence. But the fact is, police sketch artists have been very successful in using their sketches to locate and arrest suspects.
Police now have a sketch of the man's face, as well as the CCTV footage of him. They release the information to the public, along with a $3,000 reward for information leading to his capture. They're hopeful now that someone will come forward and turn the gunman in. After 2 Russian tourists are shot dead in Pattaya, Thailand, police scour the clubs and sex districts, convinced that the killings are linked to organized crime. One week into their investigation and still no leads. But something about the way the women are murdered leaves detectives convinced the gunman must be a hired killer. Investigators once again speak to the only witness in their case so far. He provides police a description of the man he saw. Perhaps now someone will come forward and turn the killer in. Shortly after the police sketch is released to the public, investigators receive an anonymous tip that a young man named Krisanna matches the description.
Anonymous tips are not uncommon in investigations. Witnesses may be a little hesitant to come forward because they shouldn't be in this particular area. Maybe they're there for reasons that would not be considered appropriate.
They want to contribute to help solve this crime, but at the same time, they don't want to commit themselves because people don't want to be tied to a homicide investigation.
Krisanna is apprehended and brought in for questioning.
He's a very close match to the drawing obtained by the sketch artist. When they do the research on him, they discover that he owns a red and black motorcycle, similar to the one described by the security guard.
They also discover that he'd gotten a haircut within the last week. This might mean nothing, but it could be a way he was trying to disguise his identity, knowing that a witness had seen him walking away from the crime scene.
Given the evidence, they try to get a confession out of Krisanna, but he's adamant that he had nothing to do with the killings. Krisanna's mother goes to police and begs them to hear his alibi. She claims that he and his friends were drinking about 1 kilometer from the crime scene, but that he got home at approximately 2 a.m. that morning.
Additionally, she tells police that her son's motorbike was stolen on January 19th, a full month before the murder took place. She says she reported this theft to authorities.
They'll need to follow up on these claims, but police aren't immediately convinced. Then on March 2nd, investigators receive a call from a woman who says she's the girlfriend of a man named Inuchet Lamlert.
She says that her boyfriend came to her apartment the night of the murder and said he just shot 2 people and needed a place to stay.
She goes on to say that she saw the police sketch photo on the news and is contacting authorities out of fear of being implicated if she doesn't come forward. Police go to the address she provides in the Sriracha district and find Lamlert in an apartment there. Police also find his motorcycle, one that fits the witness description exactly. Lamlert is arrested and brought in for questioning. Officers pull up Inuchet Lamlert's criminal record.
He's well known to police. He's got quite the rap sheet. He has a history of targeting tourists in the area, stealing their valuables.
With the girlfriend's testimony, the motorbike, his resemblance to the police sketch, the witness's account, and his criminal history, police are pretty sure they've got their man.
Officers go into the interrogation expecting resistance. But with the body of evidence they have against Lamlert, they're confident they can get him to talk.
Once the police have him in the interrogation room, it doesn't take long to get a confession. He realizes that his best option is to confess and hope for leniency.
Officers get his full confession, but they're still not convinced. When they press him on the matter, he denies any involvement with anyone else. He says he was there and took the opportunity to rob them. But when they looked up, he felt maybe they saw him, and at that point he shot them and fled. Officers are still of the belief that this is somehow connected to organized crime.
The problem with the robbery gone wrong theory is that it doesn't seem to fit the facts of the case.
The speed at which Inuchet approaches the women, pulls out the gun, and fires on them suggests to detectives that this was in fact premeditated.
Lamlert's criminal history suggests that he's robbed many tourists over the years, none of them violently. So what would make him turn to violence now? Did somebody pay him to kill these women?
Police then receive an anonymous tip that one of the victims had an affair with a Russian businessman living in Pattaya.
According to this source, the man was having an affair and his wife caught wind of it. She was so concerned that he might leave her that she arranged to have the Russian women killed.
Investigators are at first intrigued by this story. It aligns with their hired gunman theory. But as they dig deep into it, it begins to fall apart. Because they posted a reward for information leading to an arrest, they must comb through many such hot tips. Ultimately, this one fizzles out.
Given how fast, effective, and fatal Anuchet is with his firearm, police are convinced that he's a hired gunman. But they're unable to detect any link between the victims and organized crime. And Anuchet insists that he acted alone. Something here is just not adding up for the detectives.
But for the moment, police still have a murder weapon to track down. Thanks to a police sketch and an anonymous tip, investigators believe they have the man responsible for the shooting deaths of Tatiana and Liubov. But when the real killer's girlfriend turns him in, officers act quickly to apprehend him. Anuchet Lamlert confesses to the murders. However, investigators are not convinced that he acted alone. They continue to explore their hunch that this isn't a robbery gone wrong, but that Lamlert is a hired gun. But if so, who hired him? On March 3rd, one day after Lamlert is taken into police custody, the national police chief arrives in Pattaya to put pressure on local police.
This double homicide has been in the news cycle for several weeks now, and pressure is mounting on the detectives. Not only is a bad reputation developing for Pattaya as being a sin city, but it's starting to spill over into the tourism industry of Thailand as a whole. So the police chief added pressure to the investigators because he wants this cleared up quickly.
Having Lamlert isn't enough for him. He wants anyone involved with this crime to face justice. Anyone who had anything to do with this is going down.
With pressure coming down from the national level, police double their efforts to find the murder weapon.
Lamlert's already on the hook for murder, so he easily gives up the name of the fellow he sold the gun to.
Investigators move quickly to track down this friend and recover the weapon. Investigators speak to Tina Korn, Lamlert's friend, who Lamlert claims bought the gun. The man denies it at first, but police are in no mood to waste time.
The friend finally admits that he bought the gun, but that Anuchet was supposed to buy it back. Essentially, this is the "I was just holding it for a friend" story that police have heard many times before.
When Lamlert doesn't return to buy the gun back, Tina Korn throws it in a nearby pond. Police scour the pond and eventually find the murder weapon. It's a Chinese-made 9mm handgun. Tina Korn is further questioned by police about his relationship to Lamlert. He admits that Lamlert is an amphetamine addict who often boasts about his unusual behavior and criminal activity while high on drugs, such as shooting at passing vehicles without reason.
If this is true, then it would essentially demonstrate that Anuchet has experience with firearms and that he's willing to use them indiscriminately.
Even though he's cooperative, police still charge his friend with unlawful possession of a deadly weapon.
Police make a third arrest in the case. The owner of the motorcycle, Monthol Bunmi. They charge him with withholding information about the murder.
It seems like it's a flimsy charge, but they're now going after anyone who has a connection with Lamlert.
On March 4th, police take Lamlert back to the scene of the crime to reenact the shooting.
has turned into a bit of a media circus. There are so many reporters there from all over the world and hundreds of police officers. It's unusual to have a suspect reenact his crime, but the fact that there's so many reporters and police here show just how high profile this case really is.
They have him reenact the crime over and over and over again over the course of an hour. He points out to them how he shot them, who he shot first, how many times each person was shot. The actual crime itself took only seconds, but this took over an hour to reenact.
Afterwards, the press interviews several individuals involved in the case, including General Temiyava, who confesses that while some progress is made in arresting the culprit, he remains unsatisfied. The profile of the confessed crime does not seem to fit, raising the possibility of other motives and more culprits.
When he was interviewed, Lamler says without prompting that he was drunk that night. He got startled and he shot the women in the course of trying to rob them. He claims he has no prior connection to them whatsoever.
In the days following, General Piriyapino expresses his skepticism about Lamler's confession, stating that it could be seen from the reenactment that he was skilled with a firearm. He shot like a gunman without touching the victim's belongings. It contradicted his confession. The general wants investigators to dig further.
Investigators continue to press Anuchet about who hired him to do this. He insists that he was just riding along and saw the women and thought he would check for valuables. He says that if he in fact had been a hired gunman, he would have had an accomplice to drive the getaway car, but that didn't occur.
In spite of their best efforts, police are ultimately unable to link Lamler to any organized crime. And he is the only defendant at the trial.
On September 3rd, 2007, Lamler is convicted on 6 counts, including murder with intent, covering up evidence, attempted robbery, and possession of a weapon in a public space. He is sentenced to death. Whether Lamler acted alone or was hired to kill Tatiana and Liubov is still unknown. As of now, there is no new evidence in the case to suggest anyone else was involved. Life in Pattaya City returns to normal. Scores of tourists continue to enjoy its beaches, golf courses, and local cuisine. But as the gulf between rich and poor here continues to grow, it may not be long before the city that never sleeps makes the headlines once again.